welcome to Planet Sci-Fi from the makers of Planet Marzipan. I'm your host, Craig Stu. Hello and welcome to Planet Sci-Fi. I'm Craig, your host, and I am joined today by a few really great friends. Mr. Mikie Kay. Hi, Mikie, you all right?
Oh, hello. Yeah, Connie, yourself?
Yeah, it's a Monday. Onwards and upwards. And the legend that is Mr. Mark Kennedy.
Hello.
You all right, mate?
All right, yeah, you.
We are. And also, we are joined tonight by Mr. Stuart Mitchell, all the way up in sunny Aberdeen. You all right, mate?
Fit like.
Who's your dues?
Two Aberdonians on the
That's it.
two Aberdonians-ish on a
Aberdonians-ish.
podcast asking for trouble, so might need subtitles for this one.
Oh, we need subtitles with the Geordies on here as well. So, you know, anybody internationally who's listening to this rubbish, they've not got a clue.
It's fair to say none of us sound particularly Aberdonian.
No.
You're too refined.
Exactly. Posh.
Yeah. Too refined and posh.
You know, West Hill.
Stu
Jackson. Hi, Stu.
Hello. Got me sonic screwdriver ready.
There with your sonic screwdriver ready. And Stu Chandler's with us as well.
Hello. Good
now,
to see
this
you.
is a bit of wibbly wobbly timey wimey because we are recording with these two chaps separately because can't make the recording session. So I shall do my best as what John used to call the Trevor Horn effect and intercut where necessary. So what we are talking about in this week's episode is cast your mind back to 1996 and the Doctor was back and it was about time. Paul McGann had been cast in a co-production between Fox and the BBC for Doctor Who, the movie. And blimey. I'll just put my hands up straight away and I'll say I thoroughly enjoyed this at the time and I still thoroughly enjoy this now. So, Mikie, I'll start off with you. What can you remember and where was your Doctor Who fandom at the time where this came out?
Oh, right, wibbly wobbly. I was one of these silly people that didn't really buy into any of the new adventures and stuff. I was still very much collecting the VHSs and DVDs as they came out. And I was still collecting Target novels as they were getting released. And actually, I was still collecting Target novels that had been previously published that I didn't have and squeezed into my collections. I occasionally bought Doctor Who magazine at the time, just to see what was going off in those fallow years. But I think, to be fair, my sci-fi tastes, because we'd left school in the same year that Doctor Who stopped.
Yeah.
So basically, I think life just got in the way and Doctor Who wasn't part of it anymore. You know, I wasn't one of these that needed to fill my Doctor Who gap with new adventure novels and other such. Hats off to those who did and, you know, kept the torch going. But it wasn't really my bag. So anyway, fast forward a bit, and obviously there was talk of this Doctor Who Dark Dimension thing getting done, which didn't get past pre-production notes, I don't think. And that all fell by the wayside. And to cut a long story short, when the movie came about, I believe I was one of these ones that bought it on VHS before it was broadcast.
Yes, you did. I was there with you when you bought it.
Unfortunately, I no longer have that VHS, but I absolutely adored it and obviously watched it again over the Easter on broadcast, even though I had the VHS at hand. And despite the well, I wouldn't call them controversials, but despite the things that upset fans, or some fans, I should say, I was never really bothered by it. It wasn't as if Doctor Who hasn't messed with its own lore with every single quote unquote showrunner or script editor that's come in along the way, or producer. So, to throw in those things that were mentioned, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later, didn't bother me, and I was hopeful that there was going to be a series following this. Obviously, we didn't get it. But it's one of those few Doctor Who's that I've bought every time it's come out. It was VHS, then there was a BBC DVD, then there was a BBC DVD special edition, then it came out on Blu-ray for the first time for its 20th anniversary, and we've just recently been treated to a 30th anniversary 4K edition. So I've still got me two Blu-rays. I don't know where the DVDs are. They're probably in a box somewhere. But yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about some of its contents together. But I've loved it ever since it was brought out.
Yeah, I know, because I remember back to '89, because we did, watch Doctor Who quite regularly. But I do think that in the last, like, with the Sylvester McCoy stuff, it did, John Nathan Turner almost turned it into a bit more light entertainment stuff, because you had the, there was a bit of stunt casting with the likes of Ken Dodd and things and stuff in there. So, and also
yet the last season was pretty dark, I thought, tonally. It was on the nose, and one of my favorite classic Who's is actually a Sylvester story, and that's Remembrance of the Daleks. Absolutely adore it.
And that finally answered the staircase thing, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was just getting to, just as it finished. I saw Sylvester once at a convention, and he made the point that Doctor Who's like an oil tanker. When you change it, you've got to move it very, very slowly. And I think by the time of Survival, it was just getting to where they wanted it to be, and it was just getting good again. And then,
putting it up against Coronation Street. I mean, come on.
See, yeah. I tend to think that some of the Sylvester stuff is some of my absolute favorites.
Yeah,
Curse of Fenric is, I love Ghostlight. Awesome. I think Ghostlight isn't 100% there, but it's got the bare bones of something really, really strong. Even the likes of Survival, Battlefield, it's all right. It feels like it could have been a little better coming from Ben Aronovich. Again, Remembrance is brilliant. In fact, I would say it's only really the first few Sylvester episodes where there's and even the ones that are ridiculed now, like the Happiness Patrol and things like that, because of the Candyman, are ridiculed because of one aspect of it rather than because it's bad. It's just like, who thought that putting a Bertie Bassett in was a good idea? If they had done something like, I don't know, when Big Finish did it and they had him like as somebody sort of glazed, it was like a humanoid zombie that was glazed, that sort of thing would have, I think, dispelled a lot of what people thought about that era. I would agree about the likes of Ken Dodd. That specifically feels like a very strange.
But Nicholas Parsons, I mean, in The Curse of Fenric is absolutely fantastic.
But he was an actor before he was ever like a presenter or of anything like that. But yeah.
But it was, I was lucky enough to chat to him a couple of years before he died, and we spoke about Curse of Fenric, and he was like, he goes, it's a job that just keeps giving. He goes, I loved it at the time, but I just did not think that people would be coming up to me 30 years later and going, oh, I loved you in that role.
The gift that keeps on giving. So, Mark, where was your fandom at the time, and what was your original thought about when it was coming back?
I guess I was at the height of my fandom, I guess, even though the show wasn't on the air. I think it was what Mark Gatiss called the interregnum. So, but yeah, I was reading Doctor Who Monthly I didn't really bother with. There was a magazine called Dreamwatch Bulletin, DWB,
yeah,
which then became Dreamwatch.
Yeah.
And I used to read that a lot. And the the show was being kept alive a bit. I mean, I think there was stuff was being rerun on UK Gold.
Yep, it was.
On a Sunday or whatever. So I would video all those. So I had and there was all the VHS releases as well. So I had like a big collection of all that sort of stuff. I remember. Do you remember More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS?
Yes.
That was the first. That was sort of the first inkling, I think, that people got the idea that there was something going on, because there was, at the end of that, there was an interview with Alan Yentob, and the guy interviewing him said, "Would you like, there's been various rumors going around that you're going to get involved in a co-production deal with Amblin Entertainment and all these other things. Is there anything you can say about it?" And he said something along the lines, "Well, if, I can't say anything, but if there was anything, it'll be announced in due course," or whatever. And I think that was the first idea we got that there was something going on. And then I remember, same as Mikie, I went and bought the VHS. And I got the novelization as well. Gary Russell did the novelization, so I went and got that. I might have got the novelization before I got the VHS, but yeah, at the time I enjoyed it. There's some stuff in it that works really well. There's some not so great stuff in there. Couple of, plot doesn't make sense at some points, but it's Doctor Who, so.
Yeah, Colin Russell, T. Davies, and things not making sense.
Yeah. But there's a lot of it. The same with the New Adventures, which I was a big fan of the New Adventures as well. I had most of them. But there's a lot of stuff from the New Adventures in the TV movie that, that came into the program when it came back. So, yeah.
Cool. So, Stuart, you're another hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been just turned 20-ish, just around 20 when this came out. I was at university. I was at the time starting to go out with someone who was a few years younger than me, so she had bypassed Doctor Who. She didn't, she was just the wrong era. She'd never watched it. So I do remember encouraging her to watch it. SFX was out just not long started, and I think they had covered.
Yeah, that started. That started. I think it was in the May or the June of 1995, because I remember buying the first issue of that, and I just came back from Gran Canaria, and I just bought it after I got out of the airport, and I was reading it on the way home.
So I was a bit. I mean, I've become more of a fan as years have gone by. I was a fan then, and I had quite a few of the VHSs. I had like some of the classics like Zygons and Damon's. Weirdly, I had a load of the VHSs that never got released until quite late on the DVD thing, so I was quite pleased about that. But I was a fan. I loved it at the time when it was on, but I hadn't really given it a massive amount of thought. I didn't really do the New Adventures. I've sort of subsequently got more into them, but I didn't really do them at the time. So when it came back, it was a bit like, oh, this will be interesting. I'm really interested to see what they'll do. I have no idea what this is going to be like. And, we're talking about the stuff that's a bit weird and a bit different about it. I probably wasn't a huge fan that I picked up on all of it then. Now I would look at it and go, oh dear. But actually, as Mark says, Doctor Who's canon it's non-existent. I mean, it pretends, and then you start talking about Atlantis and it all goes to hell. So, or unit dating and things like that. So, none of it matters. It's what comes out more with people arguing about it now, is that really consistency has never been the watchword for Doctor Who.
Yeah, all you've just got to say is multiverse and leave it at that.
Yeah. Or it's, head canon is the expression, isn't it? It's what, whatever you want it to be, basically. So
it is. But I will say as well, though, that my other half this was her entry to Doctor Who. This was I don't even think she saw it at the time. I think it was a little bit later, but this was the first Doctor Who she ever saw. And consequently, up until very recently, Paul McGann was her favourite Doctor, even though there was one adventure. When she met me and she discovered Big Finish, it was like a new world opening up to her, that she had all these unheard of Eighth Doctor stuff. But yeah, I find it weird to think that it's somebody's Doctor given it's 90 minutes. That's it.
Yeah. And it's funny because just rewatching the 4K the other week. Sarah likes her Doctor Who, but the furthest she goes back is Christopher Eccleston. So it's New Who all the way for her. She'll only go from Christopher Eccleston to Peter Capaldi, and that's it. David Tennant coming back she loved, but she's not liked Jodie and she's not liked Shooty at all. And I've never really been able to get her to watch the TV movie. And I had it on and she was like, pop rid of her. And then she ended up sitting down and missed about the first couple of minutes of it, but then she sat down and she watched it all the way through. And I mean, looking at it, and we'll discuss this a bit closer on, looking at it, this version of it, this 4K remaster of it, makes it look a lot more modern. It looks a lot more like New Who. And I think, yes, obviously the pacing's slightly different, and it doesn't actually really look 30 years old. But we'll get onto that a little bit later. So, Stu Jackson, back in 1996, where were you with your Doctor Who fandom?
Well, I think it's fair to say in the 90s, I was drunk. So that's a thing. So I'd grown up watching Doctor Who on and off. I vaguely remember Tom Baker episodes, but I don't really remember them properly. Peter Davidson watched a bit more seriously, but then I'd fallen out of it by the time of Sylvester McCoy. I think I caught the odd episode. So I couldn't say hand on heart I was a fan at that time. But I was aware of the movie as a big event. I was fairly excited to see it. Yeah, I'll leave that there for now.
Leave that there for now. Mr. Chandler.
Right, so I was a fan growing up. Fourth Doctor, Fifth Doctor, Sixth Doctor, not so much Seventh. Sort of started work and all that sort of stuff, and it sort of impinged on everything, and then hiatus. I was completely unaware of all the novels and the tie-ins and everything else in between, and then the movie came along, and as Stu Jackson said, it was like a big thing. I remember watching it live when it was broadcast, and I remember really enjoying it. I taped it, and I had that tape for years, and I think that was probably integral into getting me back into the show when it came back in 2005.
So, from what we've said there, I think the reason that we're doing this is because, it's 30 years. There's a brand spanking new 4K restoration with levels of extras, both new and old, on this release that, you start watching it now. It'll take you about a week or so to get through it all. And it's grand.
It looks great.
But I think what I'll do to begin with, if some people haven't seen it yet, I think I'll just read out the blurb from the back of the 4K, just so it gives people an idea of what we're talking about. So it says, marking its 30th anniversary, for the first time, Doctor Who the movie has been newly restored from the original 35mm film elements, bringing this beloved adventure back to life like never before. The Doctor is returning home to Gallifrey with the remains of his arch-nemesis, the Master. Forced off course, the TARDIS arrives in San Francisco on New Year's Eve 1999, where the Doctor is critically wounded in a gangland gun battle. At the local hospital, Dr. Grace Holloway fights and fails to save his life. Later in the morgue, the Doctor wakes up as a new man, but he is not the only one. The Master has also found himself a new body. As the clock counts down to the start of the new millennium, can the Doctor stop his oldest enemy destroying all life on Earth? So, that's the story. Mikie, what do you think of it? What do you think is it as an adventure, as a movie, as a piece of entertainment?
My first complaint always was at the start of it, why the hell is the Master getting tried on Skaro by a bunch of Daleks? That never felt right to me. I mean, for all we know, he could have been getting tried as a war criminal. It's completely, valid. But if that's the case, a little bit of backstory wouldn't have gone amiss. Some scrolling text at the beginning of the story, maybe. I don't know. But that never sat right with me. And also, the Master turning into a goopy snake also didn't feel quite right. After, seeing how we changed bodies in the likes of the Keeper of Track and what have you, just, I don't know, it felt like a cheapening. But then, if he's been zapped and put into a box, who knows? It's Doctor Who. We can do what we want. But as a story, it's the setup is brilliant. I mean, I loved all of the nods to Frankenstein and the Christ resurrection elements to the story. And actually, there's not a character in it that I particularly dislike. I think the casting was absolutely spot on. But I think there's a few things just niggle me about the story. The first thing, and probably the sticking point for me, was having the Eye of Harmony on the TARDIS, which was supposed to be on Gallifrey, which powered all the TARDISes. Now, that was a bit of a funny one for me, but then I was thinking to myself fairly recently, what's to say there isn't like an Eye of Harmony on every single TARDIS? Because if you're talking sort of like USB cables here, right? If you're going to power something up from somewhere, it's got to have a tethering point, yeah? So maybe every single TARDIS has got its own Eye of Harmony. I don't know.
That's the idea. That I read that somewhere. That's the idea that
Right.
the Eye of Harmony simultaneously exists on Gallifrey and in every TARDIS.
Right. That makes sense. But again, at the time, I think I was like, whoa, don't like this. The Doctor kissing thing didn't bother me in the slightest. And then we get on to the whole Doctor's half human on his mother's side thing. And again, who's to say that incarnation of the Doctor doesn't mean to say that the rest were. And I know that can sound a bit weird, but who's to say where regeneration comes from or how it actually works? And as much as they've got memories and stuff, the Doctor can change gender, it can change this. Because I mean, wasn't it the Corsair that in that Matt Smith story? What was the story called? I'm going to annoy myself now.
Doctor's Wife.
That's it. Yeah, love that one. And it goes to show you that they don't necessarily have to be, human looking. So who's to say that an element can't be brought in? Doesn't necessarily have to be via man and woman together having a baby kind of human on my mother's side, but who's to say that that element wasn't brought in as part of the regeneration? I know it's a bit out there, but That was me trying to justify it. But yeah, it's actually a fun jape, and I absolutely love the master in this. Eric Roberts is off his butts. And he's such a good actor. And he just makes it his own. It is a bit camp, but I think tonally, I think it gets away with it without it pushing into, late 80s Doctor Who territory. It's just a smattering of humor without pushing it too far. That whole like I always dress for the occasion bit, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, love it a bit. Love it a bit. Didn't quite get the temporal orbit thing. The TARDIS bringing Grace and Chan back to life. I didn't understand that in the slightest. But I have to say the TARDIS looks fucking awesome. I think until Capaldi's TARDIS, not even the early 2005 TARDIS didn't sit right with me. I think a lot of it looked like carved polystyrene, and the least we say about Jodie's TARDIS, the better. But this TARDIS was just gothic and H.G. Wellsian. It was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But anyway, I'm waffling. Let somebody else talk.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many times do you think the Doctor's actually read the Time Machine? I mean, come on. Come on, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, same as Mikie, basically, but, there's a few things. The goopy snake is just laughable. The squeaky voiced Daleks at the start that sound like they've been inhaling helium was a bit much. One of the things that just occurred to us while Mikie was talking was in pretty much every Doctor Who adventure, when the TARDIS lands, he checks the scanner to see what's outside. What does he not do in the TV movie? Check the scanner, goes outside, gets shot. So,
welcome to America.
Yeah. Like Mikie says as well, Eric Roberts is absolutely amazing. I'm surprised that any of the set was left by the time he'd finished chewing it all. But just brilliant. And again, talking about how the new adventures in the TV movie, some of that fed through into the new series. You can see, the Camp Master. That's, some of that did filter through into the new series. I think the Frankenstein analogy thing, it's awful and brilliant at the same time. And again, I'd completely forgotten about when he goes on his knees and does the Jesus pose in the middle of the mortuary or whatever. The half-human thing, didn't have a problem with it, really. I probably got more upset about it at the time than I would now, but like Mike says, if he can reincarnate as a ancient Gallifreyan, one of the founding members of Time Lord Society, why can't he regenerate as half human? So the eye harmony thing, I never quite got it. Thought it was a bit, a bit of a plot device sort of thing, bit weak. And same with you need an atomic clock and all that. I didn't quite get that. And the turning back, I thought that the turning back time again. It's just occurred to us. It's like the end of
Superman the movie. Yes, Superman the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. And the ending, I thought, and at the end when he gets in the TARDIS and goes away, it reminded us of the end of Rose. Where he comes back and says, "Did I also mention it travels in time?" That's sort of what you would if it had carried on, what you would have expected, to have happened. But yeah, loved it. And again, the production values were absolutely fantastic. The TARDIS set, again, best one till Matt Smith's, I think.
Yeah, I mean they did spend a lot of the budget was on the size of the TARDIS set because it was built in preparation for being a series.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is why they spent the money on it, because it meant that if you do it there, if you do it right, it's there for production and that would have been the cost of doing that would have been then broken down per episode just to make it, you know, a lot more cost effective. Because when you do a pilot, when you do stuff like this, when you do your big upfront costings for your pilot, it then the rest of the series you just divide a lot of that up there. So it's just a shame, isn't it? Just a shame.
Yeah.
So Stuart,
well, I took some notes, so I'll read out some of my notes, which I think will explain my thoughts on them. I think you could tell how serious it was because when Sylvester McCoy made his tea at the beginning, he didn't take the teaspoon out and play it. So that's an obvious sign of American money, I thought. I wrote there should be no MFing snakes on those MFing TARDIS. The bit where they run through the alleyway just before the TARDIS lands, given we were talking about it, I am 100% convinced that's the alleyway that Duncan MacLeod walks through in the starting credits of Highlander, the TV series. It was nice to see Ryan's mum from the OC getting some work, which was Daphne Ashbrook.
Melora from Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Well, I actually wrote that. I'm not. My reference is in Deep Space Nine. I wrote, who is showing guests round the hospital at 10 p.m. the night before Hogmanay? He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty Time Lord. What was with the abandoned room in the hotel that's totally flooded and filled with like get well cards and flowers and stuff? That was weird. He's walking through. How did the Master get into the TARDIS when him and Chang Li turned up in the TARDIS?
Chang Li had the key from when the Doctor, when he was with the heart surgery, and
sorry, no, that's not right. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm getting that wrong. It's because Chang Li went into the TARDIS and the Master was waiting for him.
Right, yeah.
So how did the Master get into the TARDIS?
He had a spare.
when he called him over, he should have said, "I'm the Master, and you will obey me." That feels like a schoolboy mistake. Brian took the sofa but left his shoes.
It's a bloke thing.
Now, this is what Mark might know. I thought the designer in me thought that the font on the screens in the TARDIS is the font that they used for the original Doctor Who credits.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to have a look.
And I thought The Life is Wasted on the Living, which was apparently a direct tribute to Douglas Adams, was nice.
Okay.
Master says that. And the last thing I said is that when they're dead and before they come back to life, where do the leaves come from? Because they're lying on this ground with leaves blowing around them and there's no leaves in the TARDIS. So you can see I was watching it going, I really am enjoying this, but
yeah, he's got a couple of questions, you know. What does God need with a starship and all that, you know?
I mean, I agree though. I think Eric Roberts is great in it. I think that tuning the scenery just works for the Master, and he felt quite menacing, which the Master doesn't always do. He was camp, but he managed to feel quite menacing with it. And obviously it was quite dark. He killed his wife as well, didn't he? The Master.
Yeah.
Who I think was played by his actual wife.
It is
in real life.
Yeah. It is.
And I also noted that when they did the Doctor's memories and you could see him as Sylvester, if that had been nowadays, it would have went straight back to William Hartnell. You'd have seen variations of past Doctors. But the TARDIS set is incredible. Just, you know. And much as I'm not sad it didn't go ahead because I liked what we ended up with, and I'm not sure whether an American series would have managed to keep the sort of, it was quite British in the way that it came across, but with a bigger budget. I'm not sure that could have happened if they'd run a whole series in America. So I'm not, I'm sad that it didn't happen, but also slightly relieved. But on the whole,
I think if it had gone to season the way that Fox were, it would have only ever got a 13 episode run in one season, and that would have been it. So,
yeah,
could have, would have, should have, and it didn't. And
on the whole, loved it. Still love it. Liked it at the time. Thought it was good. As I say, possibly the bit about the half human didn't bother me then. Doesn't really bother me now. It's I don't know how many times you get told the Doctor lies about things anyway. So you just can put it down to that or any number of things.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of, if I remember right, there's, the Doctor lies, and there's quite a bit of Pertwee era style name dropping going on as well, isn't there? All the way through it.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a couple of nods to the Tom Baker stuff, because when he's trying to find some clothes to wear, first thing he comes upon is a big long scarf with all different colours, and then later on he offers the police motorbike rider when he's stealing the bike a jelly baby. So I think isn't Tom Baker one of the more iconic and better known doctors in America?
Yes, my understanding was, and it wasn't touched upon in the documentary, so it may not be true, but I think it's probably on Internet Movie Database, was that at one point the American people were trying to get Tom Baker to do it because he was better known, but that I think Jeffrey Sachs insisted that it had to continue on. But at one point it was mooted that maybe it would make more sense for it to be Tom Baker because that's the one that the Americans knew. I'm not sure he'd have done it, but not then.
I mean, there was quite a list of people that actually auditioned for it, and some who didn't, some who were offered it, and didn't. Peter Capaldi was offered an audition and turned it down, apparently famously because he thought he wouldn't get the part and he couldn't bear that he wouldn't get the part. So, but yeah, I was looking earlier at some of the names. Robert Lindsay, Freedom for Gallifrey. Tim McInerney, Lord Percy of the Duchy of Northumberland.
Yep, Blackadder.
Eric Idle, not one of them as well. He was certainly mentioned.
Eric Idle's name was bandied around.
John Sessions, Anthony Head, who's just passed away, obviously.
Bless him. So Stu Jackson, when was the last time you actually watched it before recently rewatching?
Prior to well, not today. 2 days ago. No, yesterday. Yesterday I already watched it. Prior to that was probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes,
I had rewatched it. I'm gonna confess, my experience of the movie was quite different to Stu Chandler's. I hated it when it first came out. It's slowly grown on me, but I see it as very full of problems, and I'm not like a complete canon. It must be canon, but I think it throws away some very, very established things that even at the time when it first came out, I really didn't like it.
Go on, get stuck in.
So the opening sequence with Skaro and the Daleks are executing the Master and the Doctor's coming to... Hang on, why are the Daleks working with the Doctor and why are they grunting him? Is that's not very Dalek, is it? What do you mean they're executing him? They don't execute, they exterminate. And so there's that.
Would the Time Lords have actually let the Daleks match that justice out to the Master? And would you think the Doctor would have actually let the Daleks do that without would it be in the Time Lords to condemn and try a Time Lord? Yeah.
They shouldn't have used the Daleks in that instance. It should have been someone else. I really felt that quite strongly. Really, the kiss. Yeah, not a fan. not a fan, as I know a lot of other fans are not a fan of the kiss. The
It was funny when
TARDIS itself.
the thing is, when I rewatched this the other day, I rewatched it with Sarah, and she doesn't go past Christopher Eccleston, going back over. And she's never really sat down and watched it before. And she actually quite enjoyed it. I think because it looked a lot more modern with this 4K restoration.
Restoration, yeah.
And when it came to the kiss thing, she didn't bat an eyelid and all the rest of it. And I explained to her, I said, when this happened, it caused such a furore. And she's like, really? Why? Because she's used to the modern Doctor Who.
Yeah. The Doctor dances,
Fair enough. And fair enough. And I take that absolutely. But the TARDIS itself, I thought the design of it was great. But when it's in flight, it's janky and it's throwing you about and all the rest of it. Not smooth sailing like it was. And I'm so the Doctor's suddenly half human. Like, where's that come from and what's happened to that since? That is bizarre. The movie even canon? So there's that, and I hate to say this, but Eric Roberts,
that was Christmas.
No. I think you can have a bit of campness with the Master. You can have a little bit of overplaying it, but not the way he did.
He dresses for the occasion.
I cringed at him, and the design of the Master as well. Suddenly he's got weird eyes because he's gone past his generation. He's like, they can possess people now, Time Lords.
But I've always thought that. I mean, I've never really delved into the lore and that behind it, but I think the gelatinous snake kind of idea was almost like something that had like a symbiote kind of thing that the Doctor had. They say that the Master had possessed rather than it actually being residual from him.
There is all sorts of weirdness in the lore. There really is. Yeah.
Well, I saw that the script originally called for it to be strands of DNA coming out like a gelatinous snake, but they actually went full on Cobra.
Yeah.
Which was just, I suppose it could be, the Master found some sort of technology that allowed him to, I don't know. But yeah, Eric Roberts, oh no. his younger sister's far better actor in the family.
I mean, the thing is, at the time, he was not exactly a big star name, but it was somebody that had a name that they could afford on the budget.
Yeah,
he was a safe name for the American audience, and that was kind of like, at the time when I watched it, that was one of my big takes. Was this feels too American, which lost its charm for me for the British side of it. Now that said, Paul McGann, I think, worship him. Think he's amazing. Thought he was amazing as the Doctor. So it's not all bad. Just to be jumping with that. And this, very much feels like the Doctor went on holiday by mistake.
Yeah,
to America and immediately got shot. What does that tell us?
I think it was nice that they invited Sylvester McCoy back to do a handover.
Oh,
they could have easily just didn't do that, but at least they did handle it correctly. So come on, Mr. Chandler.
Well, I mean, it was completely unlike anything we'd had before, as regards sort of
it's chalk and cheese from the
absolutely
the last iteration and the last production of it, because obviously they were competing against the likes of Star Trek: The Next Generation and things.
Exactly that, and it's sort of like sort of looking back now, with hindsight, it foreshadows New Who very much, which was sort of acknowledged quite recently. I think McGann is amazing. I think he would have been a great Doctor. He was a great Doctor on paper. He's a great Doctor in novels. He was a great Doctor in audio. You know, it's a missed opportunity. There is a huge hole in Whoviandom. Eric Roberts. The Whooniverse, yeah. Eric Roberts, as you say, Campus Chips, incredible. I don't know. It's all. I love the TARDIS set. The TARDIS for me in this show is how I always imagined it. Sort of huge and everlasting. Sort of just like going on infinite rooms. Yeah, I really enjoyed the steampunk sort of thing. The vibe to it. But it's going back to the half human thing. Bit weird. It's explained a bit when you watch the extras a little bit, but that all goes back to sort of like original Bible stuff that they did for this show. But would it have been a good series? Probably, but we wouldn't have what we've had for the past 21 years or whatever. But yeah, I really enjoyed this restoration. I think it looks great. It sounds great.
I mean, the package that they've done for this, of the 4K thing, the amount of extras on here.
Took me a day.
I was going through a lot of them this afternoon, particularly the Eric Roberts interview, because I wanted to find something redeeming in there, and I didn't.
Do you not think that interview was a bit strange, because they actually had the actress on who was his wife in it?
Yeah, who is his wife?
But she is his wife.
Yeah. And the thing is, they're all very, very like snuggly together, but if you don't know the situation, it looks a bit like should there be some intimacy coordinators on set here?
What's more interesting than that as well is sort of like she was obviously keeping an eye on the guy as well, because that's she did her scenes and then she hung out for the rest of the 30 days.
But yeah, and I think it's a shame that it didn't happen. I think the funny thing at the time is when this came out, Fox used to do a lot of like movies of the week.
Yeah.
And just before this, it was just before this. Back in 1989, you had the Alien Nation TV series.
Yes.
With Kenneth Johnson, Craig Stu were mentioning V again. But Kenneth Johnson, who did the original V, he did the TV version of Alien Nation. Now, that only ran for one season on Fox. It was one of the first shows when Fox became a network in 89 separately. And then it got cancelled after one season. But after that, there was a fallow to about three or 4 years. And then they did TV movies of Alien Nation. I think they did about 5 of them.
Yeah.
So Fox were used to doing things like this. It's just this was a failure, but not because necessarily Americans didn't know the IP, because some of the Americans did know the IP, but it had scheduling issues, and it was up against a big was it a football or baseball game or something like that. So it got hit that way. Whereas we got it on a bank holiday weekend, and it did absolutely storming numbers.
Yeah, it did great. I was so surprised it didn't go anywhere. As a person who didn't know anything about what was going on over the pond, really.
But do you think with this, it was probably the first time almost since the 70s where Doctor Who was kind of taken seriously, after what people's perceptions were of like the, Colin Baker era and with all the shenanigans there, and then the shenanigans with Sylvester. I mean, I know Peter Davison's one was dark as hell in a lot of respects, but it seemed like the BBC were putting their money where their mouth was and relaunching it as a premium product.
I think
Again,
by that point.
No, sorry, go on, Stuart.
I was just going to say, I think by that point they had cottoned on to the fact that it was selling more than just what was on TV. That Doctor Who's value was in everything else that came with it, the books and everything. You know, I read somewhere that had they sort of taken into account things like the foreign sales and stuff when they made the decision, they probably wouldn't have cancelled it when they did, because actually it was still very, very profitable. I think by the time this came around, they kind of realised that maybe there was something that could be exploited if it was done properly.
Maggie?
It's not a dissimilar situation to this whole shooty era with Disney, where it's a case of the production values have to be X if you expect it to do Y. And I think I totally agree with Stuart. I think they should have took the BBC Worldwide, VHS sales and, all the merch sales into consideration, rather than just it did well in the UK, but not so well in the US, but it should. I don't even think it was so much taken seriously. I think it was respected. It was, I think enough time had passed for people to want it back, and enough time had passed for it to be a jumping on point for people who'd never seen it before. BBC weren't, massively into repeats anyway. I know there was like repeats much later on, and occasionally you'd get something on BBC Two at a weekend. But realistically, for such a big thing for the BBC, it wasn't really, rejuvenated during that fallow period. It was just binned and forgotten about. So yeah, I think just the fact that there was some good production values assigned to it made a world of difference. Yeah, the short story's a bit chunky, but you've got a new set of scribes at hand, and they had their own Bible to follow, if you like, which was going to be a springboard for the series. We've got pictures of redesigned Daleks and redesigned Cybermen, and it's like, what ifs and what could have beens. But I also agree with Stuart. I don't necessarily negate the fact that we didn't get a series, because I think if we had, it would never have been relaunched in 2005. It might have come back, but it certainly wouldn't have been for a good while, if at all.
Yeah, I mean,
so I think we should be thankful.
Yeah, because what happened is in the mid-80s, you had Michael Grade, who was determined to kill it, then replaced by Jonathan Powell, who did kill it, and then Alan Yentor, when he was controller of BBC Two. I mean, he talks about this in the documentary. He's talked about it a lot of times. Was he started off when he was controller of BBC Two with his 6 o'clocks, putting on reruns of Doctor Who. He bought Star Trek: The Next Generation. He bought lots of other shows. He was even re-showing older shows, your Battlestar Galacticas and things like that. And he made it a powerhouse of 6 o'clock evening. And then this was the one thing where he shows that there is an audience there for this kind of material. When he went over to be controller of BBC One, instrumental in bringing Doctor Who and bringing back, seeing what was happening in culture and the zeitgeist. And, he's got sci-fi fans in the UK have got a lot to thank him for.
Definitely. BBC Two was instrumental in sci-fi in the UK for the 90s, 2000s.
I think as well, you can't undersell the importance of having Paul McGann in that role, having an actor that was known and respected rather than a bit of a clown. Much as I love Sylvester McCoy, he wasn't really known in that way. He wasn't almost like a soapy style actor, which is what Colin Baker was known for, and he wasn't even going back to being the wet vet. He was someone who was taken very, very seriously, I think, as an actor. And that in the way that Eccleston did when they took him back, I think it gave it legitimacy.
He was sharp at one point, wasn't he? Until he fell off a horse or something.
No, he broke his leg playing football.
Ah, right, okay. So I mean, that shows you the level of sort of work that he was getting.
Yeah. So with Neil and I, was groundbreaking for him. And to be fair, if you think With Neil and I was only about 10 years beforehand.
With Neil and I could have had 3 doctors in it, because Paul McGann, Richard E. Grant, and Richard Griffith allegedly was originally going to be cast as the 8th Doctor when Sylvester left.
And that would have been a very interesting 3 Doctors version, wouldn't it? It's great stuff. So we'll have a bit of a talk about the 4K itself. Now, I mean, me and Maggie were talking about this when it first came, because I think you got to watch it before I did, and you were saying about how impressed you were with it.
Well, that's it. I mean, I put it on and I was like, oh, it's not in widescreen. I have to get back to the square telly watching again. But I was really pleasantly surprised. And I mean, again, the collector and the fact that it was in 4K made me go, you know what? It's on a steelbook. I'm going to get it. It looks pretty. And then if it's any good, I'll tell Craig. And apart from the cutaways where there's a bit of stock footage, and the Y2K shots, which are like the zipping cities going up in the sky kind of thing. And apart from that and the Master Snake, everything looked beautiful. It was such a good restoration. And I actually thought the Blu-ray was actually pretty good, and they've done a good job with that. So, no, it's truly, it has never looked as good. I mean, obviously we didn't have 4K tellies back in '96, but I seem to remember watching that and be blown away by the title sequence, And of course, you look at it now and you're like, oh, okay, but it was. I mean, I love the fact, and I have to say, I love the fact that they brought back the Pertwee logo, tweaked it a little bit, tiny bit, but it's iconic, isn't it? And even for was it the 50th anniversary for Doctor Who, where they resurrected a version of it again? It's as iconic as the diamond, I feel. But yeah, it's a beautiful piece of work, and most of the extras, I think about 80% of them, are actually on the 20th anniversary Blu-ray release. But there's new featurettes and there's new interviews with the likes of Eric Roberts and what have you. So there's stuff to be had that's worth getting it for.
Mark, have you picked up the 4K yet or not?
No, I haven't yet. I had a back in the day. I had a video. I've just been looking, trying to remember what it's called, but I can't find it. It was basically Sylvester McCoy's video diary.
Yes, yeah.
Is that on it, or
there's some clips of it on the documentaries, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not the whole thing,
yeah,
but there is some clips from it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I think that the Steelbook, specifically artwork, is some of the nicest artwork that I can remember Doctor Who putting out there. I'm not normally a fan of Steelbooks, but there was no way I wasn't getting that. I think it's absolutely beautiful.
I was tight. I got the 4K, but I didn't get the Steelbook.
Right, okay.
What have you found then, Mark?
No, I'm just looking, because I haven't got it. I'm just looking on Amazon in the Netherlands, and it's €60.
Ooh, is that the Steelbook, or is that the...
I don't think it is actually, so that's a bit much. So I might have to get it sent to a relative.
Yeah, get it on your Christmas list.
I mean, we had a shout out for the sonic screwdriver as well, which makes its first reappearance since it was killed off in the Visitation.
But it's the wrong way around.
Yeah.
They had to blur it, didn't they? Because Sylvester got it wrong. He was pointing at himself.
One of the things in the documentary that I didn't know as well, because I mean, one of the iconic looks of Eric Roberts' master is the black coat and Ray-Bans, and it was kind of accidental because he was having a lot of trouble with the contact lenses for the master. So he was like, "No, not having these." Like, so they kind of did a quick workaround, and one of his outfits didn't quite fit him, so he grabbed that jacket and threw it over the top, and hey presto, you've got a look, and it works really, really well.
Looking
So,
cool
Mark,
and menacing.
Just going to say, the thing you were talking about, the video diary, is called Bidding Adieu.
Ah, that's the one. Yes.
I knew I'd seen it before, and BBV.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
put it out, and it's his video diary of his trip out there.
Because he spent some weeks out there, didn't he? Even though he wasn't in like particularly like a long amount of time in the episode, I think he was out there for most of the shooting.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's a nice package. It's definitely worth getting. I enjoyed the chat between Sylvester and
Tegan.
Yes. Do you know?
Janet Fielding.
That's the one. I was totally forgotten Janet Fielding's name.
But it's funny. I mean, I can read out the thing of the special features, and there's a lot. So you've got your Doctor Who uncensored UK version, and then you got your US version in 4K. So they're the two versions of the main feature. You got audio commentary with Jeffrey Sachs. You've also got a second audio commentary with Paul McGann and Sylvester McCoy. Obviously, it's all available in Dolby Atmos 5.1 stereo, isolated music. The special features, you got making of, you got an conversation with Jeffrey Sachs, you've got When Janet Met Sylvester, you've got interview featurettes, deleted scenes, alternative takes, alternative opening, clean opening titles, digital FX reel, Paul McGann's audition tape, behind the scenes footage, TARDIS tour, 1996 electronic press kit, the BBC trails and continuity, 2006 announcement trailer, Strip for Action, Tomorrow's Times, The Wilderness Years, The Doctor Strangelove, DVD Easter eggs, bonus music tracks. You'd be on for hours with this stuff.
Well, yes. So, well, I would say that all the extra docs on the restoration are amazing. Obviously, you've still got the old making of, which is fascinating, which is imported from a release from a few years ago, and it just makes sense of everything and how we got there. And then you've got the various conversations, which are sort of all new interviews. So we have Janet Fielding meeting Sylvester McCoy,
that's really good. It takes a while. It takes a while to get into the Doctor Who-ness of it all, because
they all do.
It's quite a lovely fest to begin with, but then
it is. I mean, it's very interesting, and sort of like where everybody came from, the whole shall we say left side of politics of everything, but
it's interesting her relationship to the TV movie as well.
Yeah, because she was the agent of Paul McGann, of course, so at that time. So, and it's a great interview. It's an hour. Is it an hour? Yeah. And then we've got a nice hour-long interview with the director, which again doesn't get to Doctor Who for a long while, but is very interesting about TV in general in the sort of 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And then we have some memories from Eric Roberts, the guy that played Chang Lee, and from Daphne Ashbrook, who played Grace.
Go on, Stu. You're desperate to talk about Daphne Ashbrook before, weren't you, Mr. Jackson? Go on.
No, I thought she was great. Yeah. No, I knew we'd be talking in the other podcast about the Hail Mary, Project Hail Mary. So Dr. Grace. Yeah.
And Melora.
And
Deep
Melora.
Space Nine fans,
Yes. Yes.
One thing, Stu, though, I would say is that what's noticeable that's missing from this 4K release is
Paul McGann.
The view with Paul McGann.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know why that would be.
It's not like he shied away from it, because he did
Far from it.
Not the Day of the Doctor, the Night of the Doctor, didn't he?
Yeah,
the prequel.
He's done everything Doctor. Yeah,
and he's done all the Big Finish stuff, and
and he came into the Geordie episodes as well as in the episode where you had like Peter Davison and Colin Baker and Sylvester back in as well. So
so it's not like he's at odds with the franchise or anything like that.
No. So it's a big absence, isn't it? I don't know why.
Maybe he wanted too much money.
Time and tide. No, it's probably just a time and tide thing. To be fair, I think
could well be. Yeah,
too busy doing Call the Midwife or something. He does.
I did. You mentioned earlier about the movie being a lead in a way to the Christopher Eccleston one. I didn't realize till I actually did the maths today that was only 9 years.
Yeah. Incredible,
and
isn't
it? Feels like this huge tranche of time. It was only 9 years between the two.
Technically wise as well, it's sort of it doesn't seem possible, does it? Really,
CGI advanced so far at the end of the 90s, the early 2000s, of course, and I think that so the Doctor Who movie is fairly early with the CGI, although they did it incredibly creatively by doing the see-through. That allowed them to, in the same way that the Abyss did, that hides a lot of CGI mistakes.
And they also did a nice Terminator 2 / Abyss thing with the glass going through when everything was malleable. That was very nice, But
absolutely.
But there's some chunky shite.
But to be fair, there's not actually that many visual effects in the movie. There's special effect shots like that. I mean, there's a lot of. There's stuff like the heart of the TARDIS. All of the eye.
But that looks great because lots of it's practical, isn't it? Tons of it's practical, and they all talk about it, don't they?
Yeah, a lot of lighting and stuff effects. Yeah.
And every actor on this show on the documentaries talks about how incredible the sets were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. Did it have something like a $5 million budget back then? So it was quite expensive, and it just $5 million is probably the entire budget of Doctor Who up to that point.
Yeah,
and only shot in 30 days as well. I thought was really interesting off the.
Or 28. I don't know. It's yeah.
Well, yeah, because they said like normally with a movie like that you'd get like 20, 25 days to shoot it all. So 30 days, that was a luxury.
But if it had gone to series, it would have had something like a 6 or 7 day maximum shoot per episode, just like what Star Trek had back in the day. For a series, that's fair enough. You expect long 14, 15 hour days, heavy turnaround. But for a movie, it's usually like my experience is quite different. So I don't work in America yet. That quite shocked me that they would expect 25 days and getting 30. What do you think, Pepper? You took over, haven't you?
My goodness.
But it's like, again, something like the $5 million budget, but a lot of that money will have been to create the standing set for the TARDIS, because that was a big interior. Now that would have been divided up. The cost of that would have helped be divided up within the use of the series had the series come to pass. So with a lot of these things, this is when they made Star Trek Starfleet Academy. That's why they made 2 seasons back to back, because the set of the Academy was the most expensive and the biggest set that they'd ever built for Star Trek. And it had to be divided over 2 seasons rather than 1, just to make it financially viable.
Yeah.
And the bugger still can't it.
Going back to the half human stuff. Sorry, jumping back a bit. But it is revealed a little bit when you watch the audition tape extra. And it's sort of all in there about the half human and
his man being human, isn't it?
His mother being human and his oh god, I watched it yesterday. It's already lost in the midst of time, but but yes, it's all there in the audition tape, sort of. But this was from the original Bible that they had and the original script, which was then completely canned. And then, but for some reason they left half human eyeball in there, Yeah. So yeah, bit weird. Don't know why they did that.
Is it canon?
Well, apparently, yeah, because RTD's used it now. Yeah. So it's been used, hasn't it, Craig?
Yeah. It's
yeah.
I think has it been mentioned but dismissed?
Possibly. Well, I don't know. It was mentioned.
Was it in the Was it Chibnall time? Oh,
was it Chibnall or did RTD do it? I don't know. I can't remember.
Well,
but yeah, I remember
so many episodes now.
Well, I'm just thinking with the Endless Child stuff.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I suppose technically the Doctor could still be half human. Because we don't know where they came from.
We're all half human, aren't we, Stuart?
We are, yes. And the other
half
is also
elsewhere.
Keep watching.
We're seeded. We're seeded.
We are. Oh, yeah. The whole, genetically modified humans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's into aliens, UFO stuff. That's, yeah.
Oh, Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, one of the 13 colonies.
I will say one thing I was slightly disappointed with because I'm loving the Doctor Who Blu-ray reissues, is that the making of was all about what they went through to get it made rather than the making of, if that makes sense. They don't really talk about the actual putting the show together. It's all about what it took to get it made. And I would have quite liked to have seen a bit more about how they made the TARDIS and about the decisions that were made on the ground and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Isn't there another film out? Was it Doctor Who Am I, which came out, like a documentary a while back? I've not seen that. It's one of the things that's been on me list. Is it not worth it, or is it? Come on,
it has some interesting things, but it really is just about. Is it the writer, the guy that wrote it? Primarily,
I think it's the writer.
Yeah, it's not. It's it's got interesting points in it, but it's not. It's certainly not a must see.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a bit disappointing that with the interviews, you've got the main cast members, the new interviews. You've got the main cast members, but you don't have a new interview with Paul McGann, and that's a shame.
And seems surprising given that he's everywhere. You can't go to Comic-Con without bumping into him. It feels like they wouldn't have been that difficult to get hold of him.
Yeah, but
I mean, he just was being too busy for time. And it's not for the love of the role, because I mean, let's face it, he's technically one of the longest running Doctors. If you think about it, 96 to 2005, that's a canny stretch. And Night of the Doctor, I mean, come on.
I think you could even put a case that technically he is 96 to 2013, because he doesn't actually get to regenerate until 2013.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I know we slightly go off topic here, but with the War Doctor, obviously the War Doctor was originally meant to be Christopher Eccleston. And yes, John Hurt was great, and I get exactly why they did it. But they didn't have to. They could have actually gone back and the whole thing with the War Doctor, it could have been the Eighth Doctor.
I think I read somewhere that actually that was sort of suggested at the time, and they didn't want to do it for a variety of reasons. Like they didn't think he was as well known in that role. But I'm sure I remember Moffat saying that he actually regretted not doing that, and it's part of the reason why he wanted to record the bit that he recorded was because he wanted him to have that moment. And it is, I love it when it came on. I still remember when it dropped, and it was slightly ruined for us, which was annoying because my other half, as I said, is a huge Paul McGann fan, and I think had we watched that and he had just appeared, she would have just lost her shit. But actually, it was spoiled for us and something was posted ahead of time.
Would it be great for it to have actually been a full episode rather than just a bit, you know? And I think us hardcore kind of fans would have just lapped it up. And I think, to be fair, a lot of people would have.
I mean, controversially, they've got nothing going on just now. Could they not just, pop him in back in the TARDIS and record something now? Can't be that difficult.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm sorry, I went rushing off screen there and went rushing upstairs to find a book, this one, Into the Vortex, which I thought was about. Obviously, I haven't read it because I thought it was about the making of the TV movie, but it's actually about the making of the reboot in 2005. And the reason I'm confused is it's signed by Philip Segal, so for some reason. So
there is a link, though.
Yeah, Mikie, you've got that book, The Making of the TV Movie, haven't you?
Well, I was one of these saddos who did one of these big sort of like book collection things.
I've got them too.
Oh, week by week, it builds up until you've got a lot of them, and then you throw them all away.
Yeah, it's currently filling sort of like 4 cubes from IKEA. But yeah, it's essentially just pulls a lot of the stuff from interviews from Doctor Who magazine and production notes and special releases that they made. So it's nothing that hasn't been published before, but there's some lovely nuggets there. It's I thought I'll just have a quick flick through before we go to record this, and then there was like, Michael, there's 140 pages, stop it silly. But yeah, it's an almanac of everything. So it was from the series of books called Doctor Who: The Complete History, and this actually, Doctor Who the movie, was the 156th Doctor Who story that was broadcast. So yeah, you might be able to get that on eBay, I suppose. But yeah, this came out fortnightly. And I was like, is there going to be any end to this? And there was an end to it. And then they released all the Peter Capaldi stuff on top. So, and then it stopped.
And then it stopped. So what do you think the legacy of this TV movie is?
The legacy is we still have Doctor Who now.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I think it laid, this and the New Adventures laid a lot of the groundwork for what happened when it came back. So, I think that's the main thing.
I mean, I agree. I think it's without this, there are sort of few things that sort of make modern Doctor Who for me. One is actually Ace. It sort of feels like a prototype of Rose. And then this is Doctor Who. Even looking at the way the starting credits worked and things, it felt like it was more similar to what we do now. But obviously, I'm a huge Big Finish fan, so it's also given me years and years of great Paul McGann stuff. Not always great, but I would argue he has the best companions on audio. He's got Sheridan Smith, he's got Nicola Walker. They're pairing big, decent names.
Do you think he's been under? Do you think he's, what's the word, underappreciated? If
I think
by the majority of people, if people had heard the Big Finish stuff, which is outstanding, he'd be more highly thought of.
Yeah, I think it's just because there's not a lot of visual traditional episodes. I think that's just the main falling down point.
Yeah, he's the George Lazenby of Doctor Who.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except he's good.
But watch it. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is the best Bond film ever. I will die on that hill.
I think, I mean, it is one of those situations. I remember when Tom Baker had finally done more big finishes than he had done episodes, and everyone was like, oh. And then you thought, oh, poor Paul McGann. Literally two episodes in, and he's done more than he had done. But I never thought he was going to stick it. I thought he would do a series, and then that would be all we'd see of him. And he obviously enjoys it because 20-odd years later, 25 years later, he's still doing them.
And I think if the budget had been there, and I think if the want and the desire had been there, I think this whole Whoniverse idea would have been able to, if Russell T managed to get what he wanted and the money that he wanted and the freedom that he wanted, we could have actually seen another Paul McGann movie or story or something. But alas, it is not to be.
He came back for Chris Chibnall.
Yeah, just for scenes though. That's the thing. We want we want a proper episode, but like I said, I don't think it's going to happen. So to sum up, do we love it?
Yes. You've actually made, because I've sort of skipped through it before. You've made us want to go and sit and watch it again now. So.
And then my mission on this episode is a success because it's worth a look. And like I say, it's never looked as good. And even if you're not a fan of old Who and you're only a fan of new Who, it's the perfect time to relook at it because it just looks gorgeous.
It bridges the gap between the two.
Definitely does.
And despite being a movie, it's not the longest Doctor Who. The movie only runs for 84 minutes, and the 5 Doctors runs for 88.
That's a great fact.
Back to 1983, yeah.
And they also had the book out ahead of the.
Ah, yeah, you're right.
Broadcast.
Yeah.
It was different in those
days. Nice shiny cover.
Of course, the other thing is that I teared up a little bit at the end where it had the tribute to John Pertwee.
Now it's funny because at the time I emailed the BBC. One of the 2 occasions I think I've emailed the BBC and said, would be really nice if you put a dedication to John Pertwee at the end of the movie. I'm sure I wasn't solely responsible. I'm sure quite a few people
take the win, take the credit.
Well, the thing is, I remember about a year or 2 before that. Mike, you'll remember this. We were in, it was Time Slip at the time before it became Forbidden Planet. And we were doing my usual much for like comic books, magazines, and all the rest of it, as we used to do. And there were these 2 middle-aged women who shrieked. and they went, oh my God, because we're looking through like a DWB or something like that. And they were like, oh my God. And I was like, what's wrong? We've missed John Pertwee's birthday. And me and Mikey just fell about laughing. And on that note, not exactly a bombshell, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Mikey, cheers, my dears.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Stu Jackson.
Thank you for having me again.
And Stu Chandler.
Thank you.
And Mark.
Cheers. Live long and prosper.
Yeah, and Stuart as well. Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much for having me.
Anytime. And funny thing
one day you should come back.
What in the same way the Doctor came back for Susan?
Oh, sore point.
Oh, the thing is, I know you guys are going to get excited because if I mention the words Babylon and 5, you're going to get because funny thing is, this was around about the time when B5 was on because B5.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that when you were asking where we were, that was Babylon 5 was more my obsession at the time. I think. Did we know each other by like 96?
No, we didn't. 98 was 98.
I think I just started seeing Pam, so I was into Babylon 5 and I was coming up and down between Aberdeen and Newcastle. But that's another
Alienation kind of
Alienation, the TV series was 1989.
Yeah.
Dark Skies.
The film was 88. The film was 88.
I've never seen Babylon 5.
Oh my God.
Good sick. Right,
I've seen at least one episode, but I've never watched it all the way through.
That's some homework for you.
That's another. That's a whole need 5 episodes.
Yeah. Mikey, are we going to do a Planet Marzipan exit?
We might as well.
Good. It's good night from me.
It's a good night from him.
Take care.
And be kind.
Yay!
Giggity.
Is it time to re-release Doctor in Distress yet?
God, no. Thanks for listening to this episode of Planet Sci-Fi from Planet Marzipan. Check out our brand new Facebook group or email us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com.